Hello, my loves. Today's video is going to be it's going to be a mix of things, but it's generally about the energy of resentment, the core wound of denial. And this is a testimony of my own self-realization, of my own epiphany. And it's not that I didn't know this information before. And I often say that in private mentorship, it's not that I'm telling you something you don't already know. But sometimes through story, sometimes through hearing someone else say what we know or saying it just a little bit differently, it gets in. It gets in through the cracks of the walls that we have put up to deny those aspects of ourselves. To deny that that's what we're doing or who we are or what we've allowed, what we're experiencing. And so to understand what I'm about to say, you have to understand that I have the core wound of denial. My core wound is denial. And a majority of my life, I have felt resentful. And to me, resentful always meant anger turned inward. And I still stand behind that, but what I have come to realize is that resentment is what creates distrust. Being resentful creates distrust in ourselves. It does. It fosters that we are the problem, to deny ourselves, to discount ourselves, to give our power away. I was setting the standard for how I was to be treated by denying myself, by not considering my needs, not trusting that it will come back to me. That when I invest in myself, when I value myself, that it will come back to me tenfold. I wasn't trusting that. I was trusting the pattern of my past, which was when you invest in other people, when you constantly give everything you have, all of your money, all of your time, all of your energy to those people, places, and things, then and only then will you receive value. And or you'll receive anything. And when I didn't receive, when I poured myself into my friends and my husband, when I poured all of my money into my husband, and I got nothing in return, the resentment became so loud that when I moved out on my own, I had little to no value in myself, which is really hard for me to admit. I denied myself. I've come a long way in this year and a half. But what I didn't realize was when I was flying first class on Sunday, I was sitting there and I was like, holy shit, I have been denying myself. I have been asking the universe for freedom, and I've had it all along. I've had it for the last year and a half. I have been traveling, experiencing things. I've had more time to myself than I have ever had in my entire life. I have been able to go places, experience things, sleep in, not have to clean up after other people, And I was denying that I was worthy of that. I was denying that that's what was even happening. I kept looking at my board going, when am I going to experience freedom? And it hit me like a freaking freight train on that plane, and really busted wide open when I sat in that airport looking up at that atrium, beautiful skylighting, and just staring at the sky, rocking in that chair. And I realized, Johanna, you've had it all along. You've been traveling all over the United States, having all these experiences, and you've had all this time on your hands to do whatever you wanted. And you've been wasting it. You've been denying it, denying that you created that. I was denying that I was responsible, I was just discounting. Oh, it was a fluke. Oh, someone gifted this to me. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it was because of that. I was not receiving myself. I was not considering that I was the reason why I could do these things. I wasn't trusting that it was my wisdom, that it was my intuition, that it was me. Who am I? I'm Johanna effing Burkhardt. I made these things possible by allowing by trusting, by considering me, by giving to me. And even though I would give to myself and I would beat myself up while I did it, and I would entertain the thoughts that who was I to be doing this? Who am I to be taking a day to watch movies all day? Who am I to take a day to just put around and play? Who am I? It's not enough, Johanna. You have to do more. And when I would have tons of money and I would have all this downtime, I'd be like, oh my God, it's not enough. I have to keep working or it's going to run out. I would deny myself. When people would ask me to help them, when I would have time for myself and people would ask me to do something for them or to help them or to do whatever, people would ask to have a session on a day that I wanted to be for me, I would deny myself. I would not consider my needs. I would not consider that I could do it. I had the energy to do it, but I didn't want to. And when we do things that we don't want to do, we're violating our own boundaries. We're saying that we're setting the standard not to consider our own best interest, which again creates resentment, which fosters and inhibits distrust in oneself. The reason why nobody was considering me throughout my life, yes, it was programmed at a very early age in my childhood, and I could absolutely just blame it on my evil stepmother and call it a day. But the truth is I allowed it. And as a child, I didn't know any better. But as an adult, after it kept happening over and over and over again, I was in such denial that that was what's happening. I wasn't willing to see that I was creating my own reality. I wasn't willing to see that I was creating my own reality. That my own disillusion, confusion, and distrust in my own wisdom and my own knowing and my own intuition was because I wasn't considering myself or my value or my worth. Wasn't considering that my wisdom of my own life experience, the wisdom of the fact that I am an ancient and have a well filled with wisdom. I wasn't considering my needs, my power, my energy. So how do you fix this? Boundaries are the standard. I'm looking at my board. Boundaries is my standard of treatment, right? If you're in the energy matrix, you know, we've been talking about this, that boundaries, and I've talked about this in many courses, is boundaries is who you are and what you will tolerate and what you will allow. But saying boundaries is a standard, is your standard of what you will allow in your life. Your standard of treatment is a different thing, because really boundaries is only you managing your frequency, right? And if you feel like you're unworthy, or you don't know who you are, or you discount what you know, or that you're intuitive, or your wisdom, or whatever it is, whatever you think is not enough about you, you're not managing your frequency very well, right? You're allowing your frequency to be in the slums. And sometimes that's where we need to be, because, you know, just like ibises, the bird, the ibis, they have really long curved beaks. They love the mud. They love the marsh, because it's where it has the best treats. The best food is deep in the mud. So sometimes we got to be down there. We're not meant to stay down there. So when we're not managing our frequencies, we kind of get stuck in the mud. We forget that we're only supposed to go in there and dig up the thing and digest it. Allow it to nourish us, to feed us, to become wisdom, to become fuel. And then move on. Instead, we set up camp there and think, this is where I belong. So boundaries is my standard of treatment. My standard is how I treat myself. My standard is how I treat myself. It is the action I take for myself. What I allow is an action. I have to consider me first, no matter what. So we got to look at what in your life is the theme, the thing that pisses you off the most, right? Because resentment really is about anger turns inward, right? It's anger because of, you know, subconsciously, that you keep fucking doing the same goddamn thing to yourself. Excuse my language. You know that you are allowing this at some level, but sometimes in the beginning, you're angry because you think that you have a part of you that's like, I know I'm not worth this, but yet this keeps happening, so I must be worth this, right? It's the same thing. So I vowed